Hey there, this is Matt, developer of KeepaScore. You are interested in setting up and running a MLP style team event. Well, let me show you how you can do that in KeepaScore. Right now, what we have loaded up is we actually have the Group A division of the latest MLP as of the recording of this video. Now, the way that KeepaScore works, if you aren't familiar, is we've got our players over here on the left, we've got our games over here on the right, and then we use this central area what we call the capture area in order for players to capture the score. Now, if you're going to use this, you can do it in one of two ways. Right now, we are in what's called admin mode. We can see that right there because of the indication via that icon that I just highlighted on screen. We can go into what we call player mode or kiosk mode. That allows actually the players to input the scores, so you don't have to report to a central desk or what have you. The players themselves can enter the scores, but regardless of how you're going to do that, what we have, let's walk through some of the features. First off, each player in the event can always come and click on their name. I'm going to click on Callie Joe. She can come in, she can see all of the games that she has played, and because she is female, she has just the women's and the mixed version that she has played right here. Same thing with anybody else. Ben Johns can come in here and can click this. When an event is set up, we can see that we have this little icon right here, which will indicate our team divisions or our team grouping. So in this particular event, we've got 4 teams. We can see that right there. Now that they're divided, we've got Ben Johns, Etta Wright, Megan, and Tyler, which I believe they are the Seattle Pioneers. If you want to see where teams are set up, we can do that down at the very bottom. Those 4 dots tell us that we can swipe this in order to see the 4 primary areas. That is the game capture that we have right here. And then when we swipe, we've got the participants. These are all the players that you've loaded for this particular event. You've got the teams, which we can see clearly right here. All of the teams with their players, plus you can see the individual stats, whatever rankings you're using. This one obviously is duper. We can see it's indicated right there. But we can support other rankings as well in KeepaScore. And then finally, you have the 4th area, which in this case we really aren't interested in because it's not a fixed format. A MLP-style team event is an open format. In other words, you could play best of 3 or best of 5, which we can see right here. Best of 3 or best of 5. When I select this, you can see that this event already has games. We're going to set up a new one. Now, what we need to know about this when we're actually capturing scores is that clearly we have a list of all of the games that were in this particular division. We have 4 teams here, teams of 4, and we'll see how we're going to set that up. But if there's any set of, the way that KeepaScore works, at least for team events, it keeps track of all teams that play another team. And all we have to do is we can select on any given icon, like that one or this one or this one. It really doesn't matter. When you click on that icon, which is unique to KeepaScore, it will filter out the game specific to those 2 teams playing each other. So I'll select on right here. We can see that the games list has now filtered down to just the games that were played between those 2 teams. Now, if we want to see the team names, we can select right here. And we're going to be able to switch that between the Frisco Clean Cause and the California BLQK Bears. If we need to go back to the list of all of the games, we simply just click the filter that we have right here. And that filter will allow us to go back to showing all of the games for this whole pool of division. Another thing that we're interested in is when we're going to move players from one pool or a division, whether it's division 14, 16, 18, whatever MLP uses, we are going to be able to use our stats, which is going to be right here. Now our stats, as I click on this one, we're going to be using the teams, which I click. And we can see right there, we're going to get our matches won, which we can sort right there. We've got the number of matches won. So I believe MLP uses matches won, and then it's going to use games net, and then it's going to use points percentage won in order to determine who moves on to the playoffs or to whatever next bracketed event you want to use, which, by the way, KeepaScore does provide support for brackets. Currently, it's only 8 and 16, so I'll probably need to add in support for a smaller bracket size. So let's take a look at how easy this is to set up. All right, so we're going to create a new team style event. I'll show you how that happens in KeepaScore. Just before we do that, let's take a look and make note of this little icon right here. That is our event switcher. So if you are running multiple MLP style events and you're using KeepaScore to manage all of the scores, you are able to switch between those. So you can see right here that I have clearly a test event that I've created, but I also have all of the events from the Daytona. So I could switch between Group A, Group B, and Group C by simply just selecting on the event switcher and switching to that group. And you can see that we're just able to switch really quickly right between them. Take a look at the stats. We'd be able to advance whoever we want to advance based on this, etc. So this is how you set this up. In KeepaScore, as long as you're in as an admin and we have the kiosk mode right there turned off, we're going to be able to access this area and access the events. So going into the events, we're going to be able to simply create a new event, which we can see right there. So we click a new event and we can call this an MLP style team. Now, the way that KeepaScore works is it uses this unique metaphor of a play group. We can see that in the background right there. The play group is simply an iconic representation for whatever the game, the collection of games is. When it comes to a team event, clearly we're going to set the date that we have right here for the event. The date needs to be the same date, even if it's going to happen over multiple days, in order to use the event switcher that we have right here. So the event switcher just simply takes into account that it's on the same day. Now, clearly we already have this set up properly. It is a doubles or a team event. We are going to be setting the team size. Now, if you are playing a team event, KeepaScore will accommodate you perfectly if you're going to go past 4, which is MLP style. But if you're going to play 6 players, include alternates, if you're going to go up to 8 players and all 8 players are maybe even going to play across 2 different courts, and you're going to use individual player stats in order to determine mix-ups or whatever it is, go ahead and set that team size, and that will control how many players you can add to a team. Now, here's what's unique to KeepaScore is using play groups. These icons are how you're going to create subdivisions of games. So we'll select on team right here. Now, we clearly have many more icons that we need, and these are specifically identifying the differences between gender, which you can see that we've got clearly a pink shirt, a blue shirt, a formal blue shirt, a dress, whatever you want to use. All you're going to need to do is basically reduce these icons down to just what you need. Now, for MLP style, they only play women's, men's, mixed, and then finals. You can see that the finals, that's the little icon that we see right here of the trophy, which happens to be the tiebreaker. MLP calls it a dream breaker. That is included into any team style event where that team could end up with an even number of games. And that will always represent the tiebreaker, and that's not something that you're going to find in the playgroup icons. Also note that if you wanted to do something special, like I could leave the die right here to indicate a random game if I wanted to modify this. You do not have to play strictly according to MLP, because MLP clearly uses a single game, which is indicated right there. If you wanted to switch things up and do a best of 3 and throw in a random event, you could use that die, whatever you want to do. Now, if you have a larger device, an iPhone Max, or if you're doing this on an iPad, this only works on the iPad Pro, you can turn on the logos and we will see those and able to run them. Now, of course, if this is a duper event, we're going to turn that on. KeepaScore does allow you to import your duper CSV file, and it will pull those rankings in, and it will use it when we set up a team. And that's all that we need in order to set up a team event. We're always going to recognize that KeepaScore only has one event loaded at a time, and we are going to load this event, which I just did right there. So I'm just going to add a random 8 players here. I'll try to do men, women. So we've got Elise and Andrea. We'll do all A's. So there's one team. Now let's just go for B's and make it easy. We'll go with Becky and Ben and Bobby right there. All right, so we've got our 8 players now. And the rest of this, because we specified in the event a team size of 4, when we swipe over and we get to the teams, it tells us that 2 teams will be created. We are simply going to click this button, Create Teams, which will create our teams for us, which I just did. We can always pay attention to the legend down here, which says green is assigned to a team. The gray is not assigned, and red is if they are assigned multiple times. So we just select the team. And the little plus that we have right here allows us to add our players to our team. So I simply just select them. And what will happen is this will reduce as you add players, which basically prevents you from accidentally adding a player to a team more than once. And once you've got the maximum team size, then of course that icon is going to go away. I can name this team whatever I want. There's also this auto renames, which we can see right there. If we have that selected, then what happens is, I'll turn it on right now. When I select on a team that does have players, you'll notice that the name of the team actually is automatically assigned using the last names. If I don't want that, I will turn that off, and I will call this whatever it needs to be by clicking on the pencil icon, and maybe it's BLQK. I know these aren't the right players for that, but let's just go with that right there. So we assign our other team, Becky, Ben, and Bobby, and we give them a name, and we'll call them ATX, just because those are popular, those are MLP names. And so at this point, we're pretty much ready to go. We do not need to change anything else here. The number of games was specified in the event. This is just a secondary place where you can assign it. And we're ready to start to capture games. All we have to do is simply just capture whatever we want. So we start with women's. You're going to select and be able to add a team. It's important that you choose the team rather than choosing individual players. You're always able to choose individual players because KeepaScore does allow player substitutions. So, for example, if in our particular event, if we selected ATX and we now can select the 2 women, I can select Becky and Bobby. Of course, if I accidentally made a selection, it's only going to allow me to have any 2 at a given time. I click Done. Both of those players are going to be added. Now, if one of these players had become injured and had to drop out, as an admin, I would be able to go back to the teams, swipe there, and I would be able to swap a player out. So in other words, I would have to add in my alternate. So let's say Anna Bright came in. We'll add her as a player, and because she's not in a team, when we sort by teams, she will be at the bottom here and unassigned, but I would be able to swap her out on a given team. And when I make that selection here in the area, in the game capture area, it would put her instead of the other player. You're also able to independently make a selection and change it to Anna right there so that she gets credit as a player, even though she's currently not assigned to a particular team. And that's pretty much it. The rest of KeepaScore is going to be pretty much the way that it works for a lot of other things. Let's go ahead and select this again. I'll select ATX here again. It'll come up and allow me to reassign the original 2 ladies. Again, here is where you're going to be able to assign or click a logo with a game loaded. You would be able to click right there and assign a logo to that. We are always able to see that the icon right here is telling us what the situation is, and we can click on that icon and it will tell us what the problem is. We've got scores missing, so let's go ahead and assign the 21 versus, let's say, 18, and that's our first game. We can see that it went the way of BLQK. We can also see that here is our indication right there of the current status of the games, and this will show on either, whereas these will only show on iPad 12s, iPad 12-inch, and on the Macs. And that's pretty much it. We click to lock the game, and then the men's comes in. So you click the plus and you just do the men's, and everything else that I showed you in the beginning of the video works with regards to filtering out, seeing the results, and that is how you are going to be able to run an MLP style team event using KeepaScore.